Okay, I thought instead of a walk, because the beach is so uneven, it's like on peg leg, I thought we'd just like sit for a couple minutes and talk about the realities of dry fasting. You know, I make a big deal out of it not being a big deal, but you know what? It really can be a big deal to people when they just first start out. Because you're learning things that you've been taught incorrectly, like you can't go without water for 3 days. Yes, you can. That, you know, if you don't do this or that, you'll be in real bad shape and so forth and so on. You got to get over that. And that's kind of the deal. You've got to get over all kinds of training that has taught you to be afraid of things. You know, I mean, hasn't it? You know, the reason I wrote this book, The Phoenix Protocol, was for two reasons. One, to show you how to dry fast safely and effectively, and how to get in and out of it safely, and it's what it does, and you know, why it does it, and all that good stuff. The second reason I made the book is because I want you to think for yourself. I want you to take information, it seems logical, apply it, and if it is, incorporate it. And that's what we do in life. And as a doctor, it's kind of my job to tell you the truth. Just kind of out of the ordinary, I suppose. But that's the whole idea here. You know, dry fasting is a real mental hurdle to get over because it's really a power of mind over matter on this thing. Your matter, your mind will tell your matter what to do, not the other way around. So what dry fasting is, of course, is it's fasting without drinking any water. It's dry fasting. And because of that, specific things happen that don't happen in water fast or juice fast and all that stuff that keeps you hydrated because the blood solids never build up. And the hypothalamus isn't signal the pituitary to release antidiuretic hormone. It goes into the bloodstream, goes to the renal medulla on top of the kidney, and it starts pumping out epinephrine. The epinephrine goes into the bloodstream. And it's funny because it's in an effort to stop urination so much, but what ends up happening is the epinephrine activates the lipase in fat cells, and you start cleaving triglycerides into glycerol and free fatty acids. And you make tons of energy, tons of glucose, okay, because the glycerol ends up making, you know, plasma glucose in the liver, and you go on just fine and safe. You know, there is a period, however. You know, it's about 48 hours to get through that. You got to be able to get all the glycogen out of your system, then go into fat metabolism, you know, oxidative phosphorylation, and run your mitochondria on that stuff. Fine, you do it all the time anyway. I mean, you know, dry fasting is a lot like sleep. I mean, you don't eat or drink while you sleep. And so in that respect, it's like extended sleep. And the metabolism during sleep is really neat because it fixes stuff and repairs stuff and gets rid of garbage. And it's an evacuation system to get rid of stuff that's bad inside of you. That if you don't stop eating for any length of time, stuff just builds up. It's just not long enough at night in that state to do a whole lot of good. It keeps you alive, along with, you know, other things you can do. But diet, exercise, all that kind of stuff helps. But the reality is, if you don't go into a dry fast, the kind of fast where you kick in your regeneration processes, water fast can't do this. You don't get the benefit of extended autophagy, fat elimination, because you're using your fat to stay alive, and your mitochondria and your blood glucose, and your body, physical body changes for the better. You know, you drop all this weight. It's really cool. But other things happen that are even more important, because parasites require a habitable environment, in particular your water, to live off of, because they don't make their own like our cells can. Then they get parched out, they die off, so you get rid of your parasite load. You get rid of viruses and bacteria and fungus and that sort of good stuff. It all just can't live in that kind of an acid environment, because when you go from sugar into fat, you go into ketosis. And that ketotic state, that acidic state, just burns everything out. It's like turning on your reactors and throwing all the garbage in and turning it on high. And it kind of does that. So that's the benefit of dry fasting. But to get over that mental hurdle, that's tough, because there's two types of perspective in this. One is difficult, one is totally easy, and it's only difficult for people that haven't done it yet. Because I guarantee you, if you're one of the guys watching this, and I know you girls and guys are out there watching this stuff, that if you've done it before, it's like, oh, this isn't really that big a deal. It's really not. You have to be a little careful going into it. You have to have enough fat to go into it safely, because you don't want to go into gluconeogenesis during a dry fast, because you don't want to eat up your muscle tissue like you do on a water fast. You want to just use your fat. And it does all these great things. But the thing it does even more important is it addresses one of the fundamental problems of what you see in people aging. They seem to waste away. You just get thinner and thinner and more gossamer, and because the somatic cell population can only replicate itself so many times before it runs out, and then it goes senescent or just dies off, and you end up with this wasting of tissue because your stem cells are never turned on. Dry fasting turns on your stem cells in all 220 niches, not just some types and blood types and that, just no. All your stem cell niches and all the fascial matrix turn on, and you get a brand new infusion of stem cells, which is like a brand new infusion of almost immortal cells, because a lot of them have active telomerase. So these telomere ends that wear out in your somatic cells, they don't do that in these replacements. So the idea here is you end up defeating that somatic paradox, which is if you don't stop wasting away, you're going to waste away. If you just let your stem cells sleep all the time and only come to your rescue if you cut yourself or bang an arm or something, or do a little heavy exercise, because that'll actually stimulate your stem cells to make more muscle, good thing to know, then yeah, you're just going to waste away because you've never activated the cells and replace the loss. The attrition rate is too high after a point. So my suggestion is try dry fast. Once you've done it, it's really pretty easy. But I will tell you, there are some gender differences. For instance, men tend to go through it pretty much easier. We sleep all the time. We like sleeping. It's kind of what we do. My girlfriend and other women that I know have a very hard time sleeping, especially in day 3, 4, 5, or 6 or 7 on the 7 days. And it makes it really difficult. You end up being like the guy in Fight Club where you don't sleep and your world is just upside down and crazy. And it is, because your circadian rhythms are being reset, because all this brain tissue is being regenerated and stem cells are replacing old stuff in the brain and fletching and all this stuff. And yeah, it is a really powerful tool, a therapeutic tool. You're getting rid of a lot of debris, so it's always advisable on a dry fast to do a little walking or a little trampoline, little mini tramp bouncer thing. You pump the lymphatic system, because all the stuff's coming out of the cells and going into the lymphatic system, and you need to get rid of that stuff. That's cool. But again, it's easy or it's difficult. Usually it's difficult. You haven't done it before. It's difficult if you've been, just totally sold on the idea of these water fasts, these extended water fasts, and these juice fasts, and this fast and that fast. But all I can tell you is this: if food has created the problem, how can more food be a part of the solution? It just makes sense that it probably isn't. And it's time to just not eat. And animals get sick or they get hurt, they go lie down someplace and you can't find them for a few days. They're just not doing anything. They're healing. And that's when you heal. You heal when you sleep and rest. So you got to get up and exercise a little bit. But the dry fast itself is pretty reasonable. I mean, I can do 2 5 days a year or a 7 day a year and get rid of all the stuff that builds up during the year, and I can pretty much go out and do whatever the hell I want, because I know at the end of the year I'll get rid of any of the problems. I mean, the first one I did back in 2019, I did a hard dry fast. That's where you don't drink any water at all, of course. You don't touch any water. You don't put any water in your mouth. You don't take showers. You're just totally miserable. But in 3 days, my sense of smell came back that had been lost due to solvent adhesive exposure 3 years previously in 3 days. Okay, I was sold. And I read about it, all that kind of stuff, and ended up with the book, The Phoenix Protocol, which is the introduction book to neogenesis and a philosophy of time travel, where the foundation of longevity is this dry fast therapeutic effect. If you're not using it to fix anything, everything gets fixed. And that's kind of the way it is. The Russians invented this thing to cure intractable diseases that have no response to normal medical intervention. Put on a dry fast, fourth stage cancer's eliminated. I mean, it's such an evidentiary path that it's the irritants, it's the toxicity and deficiency that Don Holman once talked about that creates all these issues later on. What Ray Peat calls physiological compensation. Yeah, if you're deficient in something, your body will try and keep you alive in some way. It might not be the best way, but nonetheless, your body will keep you alive. So if you clean your body out, it makes it a lot easier to do that. So the Phoenix Protocol is the foundation of life extension, longevity, and physical health and extension as well. So I encourage you to get the book. For the newbies here, check out the rest of the channel. I got tons of videos on this stuff. I answer lots of questions. I'll probably do a Q&A soon. Somebody suggested, hey, you haven't done a Q&A in a while. Yeah, I haven't. It's time. And I've got a bunch of really interesting user testimonials that write to me on my email address, because in the book you can get a hold of me personally from the address in the book. And they have had some really great success at using this for a variety of things. And so we'll probably get a few videos coming in pretty soon that should be pretty interesting and all-encompassing. But for the most part, this is kind of a beginner's explanation of dry fasting. It's only hard if you haven't done it. It's easier after you've done it, a lot easier. And that's kind of where we are today. My name is Dr. August Dunning. Please subscribe, please hit the like button, all that stuff, because, you know, the more people that like this stuff, the better the algorithm is to get it around to other people. You can check me out on Rumble, Phoenix Radical channel on Rumble, and where I talk about some things I really can't talk about here generally. Maybe now that the administration's changed, but for the most part, I keep this almost strictly to just therapeutic dry fasting, longevity stuff. Welcome. Glad you had a chance to check this out. Spend some time with me explaining it to y'all. And I will see you soon, but God, it's a beautiful day at the beach. I wish you were here. Love you guys. Take care.